Hi all. Right, moving on again with some more Emperor of the Sun, the Erasmus example of play. We've moved on to the Allied second card play now, and yeah, we're just using the bot. We're using Erasmus to play both sides, which is just following the example of play at the moment. Whether I get to the end of this example of play and then change things after that, or I might just stop, it's possible. I'd like to think I might carry on and probably play Erasmus for the Japanese. I'm not sure if I should try and step in and take over as the Allies or not. It might be safer just to let Erasmus play both sides and just to see how it all pans out. Anyway, so let's look at the next, the card play, what the Allies are going to do for their second card play. Okay, so Allied card play number 2. So this time we're looking at their axis of determination, obviously the opening phases of that, to see what they're going to do. And the last time all they did was play the Arcadia conference cards, so something different will happen this time, hopefully. Zoom in a little bit there. Okay, so we are on A, and it asks, do the Allies have 3 or more cards? Well, yes, I've got 4 cards, so just, so that's a yes. On to B. Are there unsupplied Allied HQs in the Philippines? Sorry, Philippines. No, not in Philippines. No, the Southwest Pacific headquarters is out of supply. Also the Malaya headquarters in Singapore is out of supply. The ABDA headquarters has stayed in supply because the Japanese had a poor dice roll and didn't quite eliminate the air unit there. So which will maybe move us on to the next question. So B, there are not any Allied HQs in the Philippines in supply. So moves us on to C. Are there in supply Allied HQs in Malaya? Well, I've just said that no as well. So that's a no. Then it goes on to D. Has the Arcadia event been played? Well, yeah, we played that the last time. So then it moves on to E. Has the CBI defence been set? Well, pretty sure it's not, because we've never done that one before. So, has the CBI defence been set? And here's the CDI defence enhancement. And basically all it does here is attempts to move these corps, divisions, armies into a better place to defend. Because the Japanese are going to try and get up into Burma and into the hexes that are available in India. I think that's part of what they want to do. This is a simple case of just moving these units about, but it depends on how much movement you've got, and you might not be able to move them all in the first place. So it's our first priority is looking to move the 1st Indian Corps to Rangoon. Right, so let's have a look. Okay, and hang on there, I just jumped the gun a little bit. I said, has it been set? And then I didn't sort of follow that up. So it's not been set, we've not done that. We've not got all these units into the positions that they want to be in. So we're wanting to do this enhancement, and it's got note number 3 there, but again, we're wanting to carry out all this. Once this is all done, then it has been set. So let's check note number 3 down there. It says activate the indicated units in priority order and move them to the named locations until you run out of units to move or activations. So yeah, we're just going to try and get, ideally we're looking for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 activations, I suppose, and we can try and move each one of these units towards their destination. They might not get into the destination hex that they're looking for, but they can start moving towards it. And then the next time we run the axis of determination, we'll probably come back to this box again and try and then complete the CBI defence enhancement. And CBI is China, Burma and India. That's what that stands for, I think. pretty sure. Okay, so let's go and look at the unit first that it's wanting to move first before we then... But I mean, that's our set now. Now we need to probably look at what card we're going to use. But I'll just have a look up there and show you the first unit anyway. So there's, stretching up the map here a bit. This is the first Indian unit, and it's in... What is that? Impal, I think, something like that. And it's wanting to make its way down to Rangoon, because apparently, yeah, what I've seen, Rangoon's a really important port. It's also a resource hex. It's a really important hex to take for numerous reasons, I think, which I'll not try and explain to you. Watch some of the pros playing the game. They'll tell you more about it. Yeah, I watched 2 sets of videos. John Steed, I want to say. It's S-T-E-I-D. It's got an L at the end, so I'm not quite sure how it's pronounced. John, sorry. And then also John Sai. These videos were made quite some time ago. But these guys seem to know what they're talking about. So if you want to be following something that you know is going to be correct, I would steer you more towards their videos to get a better understanding of things. Okay, so this is the first one we want to do, and we want to move that down here. Now, how much movement does this take? Well, here's my guess of the matter. These 3 hexes here that I've got these counters on them, Impal, Jarhat, Jarat, and Lado, these are all part of a transport network that hasn't been built yet. And there's ways of building each of these to then create this transport network that then you can move through much easier. Because like I've said, moving into a mixed or jungle hex, it costs you 2 movement points. And it's only these clear hexes at the top that I think are 1 movement point, but there's very few of them on the map. But you can see the transport kind of comes down into here, but this part is not being completed yet. So for this unit to move, I believe, for it to move in from here into here, you would think it is on that transport route, but the transport route doesn't start until that's built. It doesn't start until this hex. So my thinking is that it's going to cost 2 movement to move into here. It's then on the transport route, and it's half a movement as long as you're going along the transport. Rail trans route, road trans route, yeah. So the sort of ones that have got dashes across them are rail, and the more solid ones, they all seem to be rail, don't they? Ah, well, this is a road here, I think. By the looks, I'm just looking at the map key up there. It's further up, it's just up above there. It shows you the road transroute and rail transroute and road transroute, and shows you the other hex types as well, what they all are. Well, yeah, what was the... Yeah, I wanted to... I know this is like jumping about a bit. I'd still like to understand why this wasn't considered as a hex to go and move into, because there's a ground unit with that naval post-battle move, and I wondered if it was something to do with this. It's got a red dot on it, and that says a city with intrinsic defence, which means that if there was no unit in here at all, I believe there's still sort of some defence units that aren't marked by counters. So I'm wondering if that had something to do with the fact that the naval unit didn't want to go in there. However, maybe somebody will let me know if they've watched it and they know the reason for it. Okay, so going back to the Indian division getting down to Rangoon. So it'd be 2 movement into there, and then it'd be half a movement into here, and then half a movement into here. And that's Rangoon. That's where you want to go. So it would cost them 3 movement points to get into there. Now, if that transport route in Impal, if that was built, it would cost a half a movement into there, half into there, and a half. So it would only cost 1.5 to get from there with that built, but it's not built at the moment. So that's the first unit that we want to try and move. the 1st Indian Corps to Rangoon. That's the first part of the CBI defence enhancement. So let's move on to see what card that the Allies might, will be using. Okay, and just before we go off on that one, that shows you it ends up, there's the axis of determination, and it ends up, I'll not go through each one. Once I've done it on the flow chart, we'll just look at where it takes us, and as long as we're at the same place, as long as we're on the same line of thought, then we'll go with that. So CBI defence enhancement, and it carries on to say, according to the notes, the strategy involves simply activating a series of units in priority order until all of them have been moved. So let's see which card we're using. Okay, so this is card selection for the Allies. So yeah, we've not been here yet either, have we? So A is, have any cards been played this offensive phase? Well, yes, they have. Both players of Japanese and Allies have now played cards, so yes. However, hang on. Yeah, I'm talking rubbish there, aren't I? I'm just not quite reading it. I'm thinking about it since the start of the game. This offensive phase has just begun. So we are in the Allied offensive phase. So no, we have not played any cards yet within this phase. So, and that's what was thrown me, because we've not actually sorted the cards yet. So sort cards, and it's got a wee 1 as a note. And I think this is exactly the same as the Japanese one. So arrange the cards from left to right in this order: military events, reaction events, resource events, political events. And then for this last 2 cards bit, pick the best events in this order, and it's the same. And this is still a bit, I'm a little unsure about what that's all about. I initially thought that you had to keep these last 2 cards till the end, and they were like maybe cards that were bound for the future offensive, so you could get them to play next turn. But I'm not quite clear on all this at the moment. Of course, there's not been any, like I say, this was part of the reason for this video. I've not seen anything out there that goes into how the Erasmus does it. The only thing I found was from Mark Herman himself. And he was describing some of the actions, and he does describe the sorting of the cards. It's just this last 2 cards, but it might just be to order them as the last 2 in that priority order. But it also says type. It doesn't say it here, and I think somebody replied to my question, and they did say it was missing. It doesn't say type. It says, for the last 2 cards, pick the best events in this order. But I think it's within the types. So, yeah, there's a wee bit more information I need to get about that. Somebody needs to tell me straight what that's all about. And I might be overthinking it, to be honest. So we'll sort the cards in that order. So what did this say? Military, I'm just going to do this myself off camera. So military reaction. Right, we've not got any reaction. We've got a military card. We've got 2 resource cards, and obviously I'm putting them in highest number first, and then the last one is a political card. Okay, so that is our setup. Yeah, might as well just push on to find out what strategy we're going to use, and then we can find out the card, hopefully. So, right, where are we, Grant? Sort cards. So we've sorted the cards. So now it's just a grey arrow, so it pushes us down to L plus M. And L plus M is that right? Yeah, seems awful. I jump way down. Right, so L is the China front 2 or less spaces from China collapse. Okay, I'll just show you that briefly. This is the Chinese government front status up the top, and this is a sort of abstracted way of bringing China to the game. Apart from, there is some Chinese units. There's also some air units that can go into a China box, but I think this is to signify as this goes down. I think if it gets right down there, then China collapses and China surrenders or whatever, and obviously that's bad for the Allies. So it starts at stable front, and the question there was, is a China front 2 or less spaces from China collapse? So if it was down about here or here, obviously, we would want to have a yes reaction to that, and it would then probably try and do something about that. Because there's obviously ways of moving it to the left and to the right, depending on what side we're talking about. And that, okay, hang on. Yeah, so in actual fact, I forgot that was an L plus an M. So the L is no, so we don't actually need to look at the M. But just glancing at it there, it says, is there a China event card available? So if we were down there, it would look to see if you've got a China event card in your hand. And obviously that is then to move it to the right to get it up again, away from the collapse. So this is a no. So we're on to B. And what does B want to do? Right, does the hand currently hold more than 2 cards? Yes, we've got 4 cards, so that's a yes. So it takes us down to this C, and there's a wee 2 in the note. And the wee note just says, just before I read what C does, it says this situation is meant only to apply to the beginning of the 1943 or 1944 scenario, when Erasmus plays first as the Allies. Okay, I'm not quite sure I grasped that, but I think we're not doing that, so I maybe didn't pay too much attention. So the question is this the very first card to be played this game? I see, because the Japanese are always going to go first in other scenarios, aren't they, I think. So I'm assuming that 1943 and 1944, the Allies must actually start. So that's why it's asking that question. Okay, so that's a no. So we push on down to E, down here. And then, is there an unrestricted military event available to play? Well, we've only got one military event, so let's go and have a look at what it does. And there is the 4 cards we've got in our hand, and they're set up in the order military, resource, and political. We had no reaction cards. So this is a military event, Tornado Task Force. So is it restricted or unrestricted? Well, any HQ, but remember that doesn't matter. Yeah, the question we're asking, is there an unrestricted military event? Yeah. Yeah, and it's just exactly the same as the sorry, I probably should have showed you the box down here. But it's exactly the same as what we're doing in the Japanese. So unrestricted military event. It's a military event card with no activation restrictions, land, air, naval, and no battle hex restrictions. But we ignore HQ restrictions. So, however, this doesn't have HQ restrictions as such. So it's any HQ we can use. However, the logistics value will be 4 if we use the US Southwest Pacific HQ. But it'll only be 3 for any of the others that we use. And then there's a bonus here that applies if we use the Southwest Pacific. It says, and US inter-service rivalry is in effect, the Allies may activate US Navy units or US Army units and a maximum of 1 non-carrier unit, US naval unit. So if you're stuck in inter-service rivalry, that's easing it a little bit, allowing you to sort of bring along, 1 non-carrier US naval unit. That's something at least, maybe not a big lot. However, there's no restrictions on that card, so that is an unrestricted military event. So that was E. So is there an unrestricted military event available to play? Yes, there is. So unrestricted event EC strategy. So that's what we're looking for. Okay, so this is what we want to do. Unrestricted military event EC strategy. So the criteria is pick the card with the highest logistics value. If there are offensive bonuses, pick in the following priority. Reinforcement bonus, other bonus, or no bonus. Well, we've no choice here. We've only got one unrestricted military event. We've only got one military event, never mind restricted or unrestricted. But the fact that it's unrestricted, we do need to go down that road. So that is a card that we are going to play, I think. So just jumping back to the playthrough, and there's what we've just been through, and we came to unrestricted event EC strategy, and then it tells you how we've sorted the cards, and that's right, we've got Tornado Task Force, Curtis LeMay, the top there, zoom in a little bit, Edwin Booz, and China Offensive. Oh, there you go. We did have, I never noticed that, just chuck that up there. So we did have a China card, and it says there, move the China marker one box to the right towards the stable front box. Unless this would put the China marker in the stable front box, in which case no effect. Yeah, there's some. I don't think you can move the box if it's adjacent to the stable front, as that card actually says. I remember reading something. I think it was one of the guys' videos watching. So it does make you realise that sometimes these cards can't be used until later on. But however, okay, so the card selected in this case is Tornado Task Force. Yeah, jolly good. It wasn't that difficult to work that one out. And it gets directly applied to the CBI Defence Enhancement Strategy using, so then because it can use any HQ, well, let's just see. Well, to be honest, I don't think there is any questions here, isn't there? This is the SEAC HQ up here, and this is a Commonwealth HQ. And just to remind you, Commonwealth HQs cannot activate Dutch units. They can activate Commonwealth units, Chinese units, and US air units only. They can't activate a US Army or naval units. No, air units. So it could, it could activate naval or army air units. Yeah, clearly. Just air units, crap. It's nice and simple. Let's keep it simple. So, yeah, I mean, the only other HQ that we've got, I mean, you've got ABDA down here, which is just hanging on. But remember, what we're wanting to do is up in Burma. And, you know, we've got an HQ up there for that. So it's got a range of 10. It's only got one enhancement. Is that enhancement? No, it's not. It's not. I always seem to miss this word. No, I can't get it. It only adds one to the activation anyway. On top of obviously what the logistics value of the card is. And then going back to the book, I mean, I don't think it discusses anything else. So it says the card selected in this case Tornado Task Force, and it gets directly applied to the CBI Defence Enhancement Strategy. Using SEAC HQ yields 4 activations, which will allow the first 4 units to be moved. So these are the first 4 units on that priority sheet within the axis of determination for the CBI defence enhancement here. So first in the Dakota Rangoon, B Indian Division to Akiab, 66 Army to Lashio, 6 Army to Mandalay. So they're the 4 that they want to move. So yeah, and this is a problem though, as it carries on. Since Tornado Task Force is only a 2 OC value, we're not going to get them all there. But let's activate the 4 units first. So it's 1 for the SEAC. I still can't remember what it is. And then because we're not using the Southwest Pacific, we don't get 4 from this. We get 3 because that's not that. So it's 3 plus 1 is 4. So now we've got the 4 units that we can activate. So the first one's the 1st Indian, and that's this guy here. So we're going to activate him. The B Indian Division, which it's this guy here, I think, isn't it? 1B it says. So it's going to activate the 66 Chinese Army. That's the one on top there, and then there's also another one going to activate as well, and the 6th Chinese Army, which is the one underneath. Yeah. So these are the 4 units that are activated, and that uses up all our activations. So, and then remember, the OC value of the card is 2. So we've only got 2 movement points with these. So going by what my thinking was earlier, this first Indian unit is wanting to get to Rangoon, but it's going to cost them 2 movement points to move into here because that transport route just in between the 2 hexes is not there. So my guess is he's going to move to there. This guy, however, is on... Oh no, is he? Hang on. Well, this is the special... Is this the bridge over the quay? Yeah. So I don't think this is active either. This... Yeah, let's just have a look what it says. Hang on. Let's just have a look here. So, yeah, so since Tornado Task Force is only a 2 OC, 1st Indian Corps can only make it to Mandalay, which is right, yeah, I've put him 1 hex south into Mandalay with 2 movement points, and B Indian Division stops in 2007 because it can't get to Akib with only 1.5 movement point left. Stop, where does it go to? In 2007. Right, hang on. Okay, I was all confused there, and that's because I've got the wrong unit. This isn't the B Indian Division. I just thought because it said 1B, but actually that might be an 18. I think it is 1B. He's in here. He's in Rangoon himself. So it was him that we should have activated, because it was saying it had 1.5 movement points left, and that's why I was confused. So it moves up. This is a transport route, so it moves half a movement point into there, and then it's wanting to get into here, Akab. Oh, I'm not going to get a good shot of that one, I don't think. So, and then to move, it's got 1.5 movement points left because it's only used a half, but it's 2 movement points to move into there. So that's as far as that can move as well. So you can see it needed to be a 3 OC value card for it to make these work better. Well, in fact, yeah, I mean, this would have gone into Rangoon, wouldn't it? So it's 2 into there and then another half into there. And this would have had 2 movement points left. Well, we would have had 2.5 movement points left to go into there. So they would have succeeded, but however. Okay, and then the 66th Chinese Army wants to go to Lashio. So let's see if we can deal with that one. Well, Lashio's there, and this is a transport route, I think. I think this one's okay. This is just a road. So he can go half a movement point and then 1 movement point. So he succeeds in getting to his destination. So that's 1 dealt with. And then the 6th Chinese Army wants to move to Mandalay, which is... Where's that? Oh, that's where this 1st Indian is. So again, he can go half, 1, and then 1.5 into there. So yeah. So that guy can end up in here as well. So I'll just put him underneath the Indian division because he's still wanting to move a bit. Yeah, and that's it, I think. And it's really just to move these units about to set up a better defence for the Japanese. This one's a strong. This 1st Indian is a strong unit, so we want to bring it down a wee bit further. Well, it wants to go in Rangoon and protect Rangoon, and that's a good strong unit to have in there. And then the Japanese are going to have to bring a bit bigger force, obviously. Yeah, and then just carrying on with that. So, yeah, the 1st Indian Corps can only make it Mandalay with 2 movement points, and B Indian Division stops in 2007 because it can't get to Akab. Yeah, sorry, interruption there. Yeah, and then the reduced Chinese Army units, however, can make it to their destination hexes. So then we've got to check for Japanese reaction to see if they might react to this. So here's the Japanese reaction flowchart. So A asks, is there a weather card available? And the Japanese do actually have a weather card. And a weather card just cancels out what the Allies have just done, and units have to move back to where they came from, and the card's finished. I don't think they get any bonuses, or they wouldn't get reinforcements and all that if there happened to be some on the card. So yes, there is a weather card available. So, and then B asks, do you meet the weather card criteria? Well, I guess we'll need to find out that. So here's the weather card criteria box. And so this is, I always wondered how they were going to do this, because if I was playing as the Allies, as myself rather than Erasmus playing, then I would know that the Japanese had a weather card in their hand. So I figured there must have been some kind of randomisation to decide if they'll play it or not. And I guess these are the things that, if you were playing this game by yourself as a Japanese, would you cancel that out as a weather card? I'm not so sure you would. I don't know. Maybe it is important. As things progress, as the turn moves on, you can see that it probably wasn't worth it, I think, if I recall rightly. However, these are bits where they need to add probably a dice roll just to decide. So I don't know if they're going to react to this. But there's obviously going to be some percentage of, depending on how strong the event is, it must have to do something. So what it says here is roll a 1d10 and then play only if the result is less than the number of active Allied units times 2. So that's all it's basing it on. And then if it's a surprise card, apply -2 to the result. So it's not, I think that means does it have surprise on the actual card? And that's not the case, although this would be a surprise. Well, we're not actually attacking, we're just moving units about. But remember, the default is surprise, but it doesn't state surprise on the card. So I think that's what that means there. If it was surprise on the card, you would apply a -2. So roll a 1d10 and then play the weather card only if the result is less than the number of active Allied units times 2. Well, the number of active Allied units is 4 times 2, so it's 8. So we're rolling a 1d10 and it's got to be less than 8. Yeah, that's right. Okay, so let's just see how this plays out. So, Japanese reaction, is there a weather card available? Yes. And then B, this is when they roll the dice, and they've actually rolled 2. So that is less than 8. So yes, play the weather card. So the Japanese have a weather card, and with 4 active units, the roll on a d10 needed to be less than 8 for it to be played. This happened so the Allies back up all the movement they just made in the CBI. A tough break. Okay, and I don't know if that's, like I say, would that be, would that be a great use? Normally, use pros out there will know if it was a good use of a weather card. My thinking is probably not, but I know little strategy about this game. So anyway, so there's the weather card there just to show you. And there's 3 weather cards in the deck, and it's only the Japanese get these, and it's I think they're slightly different, or there's 2 the same and 1 that's slightly different. You know what, I'd be guessing. So it says monsoon rains cancel offensive, Allied offensive is cancelled, all units are placed back at their starting locations, and then because we've used this for that event, this is removed from play. So that gets chucked out the way, and then all the units that we just moved need to go back to where they came from. Okay, so there's me reset, and then the unit's back in there, that guy's back in Rangoon, and the Chinese are back here. I was just thinking there, yeah, you would probably want to keep it for a more bigger offensive once the Allies get going, and then I'm thinking, well, that doesn't happen for a while yet. However, that's removed from play, that weather card. So yeah, that's not coming back in the game at all. So that's you down to 2 weather cards for the rest of the game. So yeah, I think a Japanese player probably wouldn't have done that. But obviously, the example play is just showing you what would happen. But the thing is, that was quite an easy result to get to play that weather card, because there was 4 units activated. Times 2 is 8. You've got to roll less than an 8 to play that weather card. The odds are there that you're going to play it. However, that's whether you could step in. Like it does say that if you feel like it's the wrong thing to be doing, step in and override that, I suppose. I mean, I don't like all that stuff. I like a bot to be able to, or an AI, sorry, not a bot. I like an AI to be able to do everything by itself, but I understand in this game that it's impossible, really, to make it still a good game. So you've got to make some of these decisions, I suppose. But I think I would just roll the dice and then go with what happened, and so be it. So that's what we've done there anyway, Untitled Chapter. Right, I'm going to take a break there before we move on to Japanese card 3, which is there's quite a lot involved in that as well. So what I might actually do is just have this as a small part and start on card 3 the next time. I've got some time, but I think I need to take a break just now. Okay, so we're still plodding along, and yeah, well, I'm quite enjoying this. I know it's just reading stuff out the book and moving them about to where it's telling me to put them, but it does sort of, some of the stuff is sinking in about what it's trying to achieve here. You know, that was trying to achieve this defence up here, and this is what you should be thinking of doing. If I'm playing the Allies, you know, these are moves that I should be thinking about doing. And clearly the Japanese want to take, you know, Dutch East Indies, New Guinea, Philippines, they want to do all that, and that's what they're doing. So, and that's, all this stuff is how it happened in history, to some extent, I think. Okay, I'll leave it for now, guys, and I'll be back with a third card for the Japanese sometime soon. Okay, cheers.